I am your host, Moses, aka King Shay, and welcome to another episode of the King Speech podcast, the podcast with discussions that are focused to create agents of change. Before we get into this episode, I first of all want to say a massive, massive thank you to every single person that is tuning into this episode. I hope it blesses you. I hope it guides you. I hope it, enlightens your perspective a little bit. And also, I want to say thank you to everyone who's also been supporting this journey as well. Those that have been there right from the beginning till this present day. I want to say a massive thank you for all your support. And I always forget to do this. So, as you're tuning into this episode, make sure you do like, you do comment, you do subscribe. Click that subscribe button, notification bell as well, to stay up to date with some of the latest episodes. But without further ado, I guess we'll jump into it. But there's a quote that I read which says, "The greatest happiness can be found in either having no need or meeting others' needs, or meeting the needs of others." In this episode, right, I want to pivot the spotlight from ourselves onto others. Now, this doesn't actually fit the usual, like, conventional, personal development podcast, personal development sort of rhetoric that is very much focused on like ourselves and trying to develop ourselves. I want to have the discussion about something I've been thinking about recently as I've been going through my personal development journey. And for me personally, look, I love personal development. I love the whole aspect of, discovering myself, working on myself, going through, doing the deep work and the sort of discovering my attachments, my trauma responses, all these sort of things. But what I have found is that in my journey in personal development, I sometimes get to a crossroad where by my personal development journey, it meets with my faith. And what I mean by this is I find that traditional discussions of personal development, there is a heavy focus on the self, self discovery, self investment, as I mentioned, discovering self, exploring one's personality, because a lot of us don't really know ourselves as much as we should. As we get older, we are exposed to the ideas of who we should be or what we've been taught to be, but not ourselves. And that's why I love personal development. But as I mentioned, one thing I've noticed is that discussions of personal development are very much focused on the self. And especially when we live in a world whereby there is such an emphasis on taking care of person number one, get your money up, focus on yourself, invest in yourself, prioritizing yourself, what it can do is that I do believe there's a wisdom in it. I do believe that there is actually a wisdom in, prioritizing yourself and focusing yourself. And it's helped me at times when I have sort of lost focus on things, prioritizing my needs, has helped me to create some alignment to my decisions and to my wants and how to dictate my life. But the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, there is a wisdom to it. And I think most importantly, the wisdom behind it is also that you cannot pour into others unless you first poured into yourself. You cannot fill somebody else's cup unless you have something to overflow, unless you have something to pour in somebody else. The Bible does say love your neighbor as you love yourself. So in order for you to effectively love somebody else, you need to have a level of self-love before you can have a level of selfless love. But I've noticed that as you get older, and I don't believe that this is a very like exclusive experience that, only I've, been privy to. But as you do get older, you do begin to realize that, people are wicked and people can be selfish and people can be self-centered. And sometimes you can start, a quote unquote level of personal development or quote unquote a level of self-focus based as a response to someone's selfish tendencies or realizing that people have hurt you, and then you have such a highlight and a spotlight on yourself that you do forget that the purpose of man, right? And I'm not saying like I know all things, but I do believe intrinsically that the purpose of man isn't just to be so focused on ourselves. I remember growing up in, particularly in church. I remember growing up, and I was always encouraged to take care of others, to love others, to think about other people, to pour into other people, and I did do so sometimes expensively. I did do so at times, kind of to my own detriment. kind of forgetting where my priorities sit and trying to put myself first. I didn't regulate it with a level of self love and self prioritization. But as I've gotten older, I did begin to learn to pour into myself more. And I did begin to learn to prioritize myself more, which was also great. So I had the experience of, caring for others and thinking about others. But then as I got older, I began to be very more self focused and personal development and sort of, you know, let's put the spotlight on myself, which was great for my character development into some degrees and regulating my energy levels in terms of how I interact with people and how I interact with myself. But then I also did that too expensively as well. And to give you some clarity, I have been thinking about this a lot, whereby you can focus so much on yourself that you forget about maintaining a balance. And the thing is, everything is about a balance. Everything's about maintaining some sort of status quo between, you know, your input and your output. If there's too much input, you become saturated. Too much output, you become exhausted. And in this space of my personal development, I've actually now reached I should say, the epiphany that my level of self love is intended for me to pour into other people. And I've been focused a lot on trying to discover purpose and trying to discover meaning and trying to understand my reasonings for life. And in this stage of my life right now, I've actually begun to remember that I think I lost some level of core values. I think that there are core values that I did sort of drop off. And that core value was the idea and the principle of thinking about other people, thinking about someone else other than myself can bring the most meaning to life, can bring the most sense of fulfillment to life. And I forgot about that. I forgot about how, when I used to pick people up to go to church, or when I used to, pray for people or visit people, or whether it's just helping a friend out, going to visit someone, just giving someone a call and be like, yo, bro, I was thinking about you. Just want to check if you're okay. Like, it's moments like that I forgot is almost the beauty of caring for other people. It gives you a sense of my existence benefits other people because I can be someone for other people, not just for myself. I realized that for me personally, I had been so focused on my development of myself that I forgot about the mandate put upon me as a man, as a Christian, as a citizen of the world, that I'm also intended to pour into other people. And what can happen is, as you're so much focused on pouring into yourself, you can actually reach a level of obesity. Like, you can reach a level where you filled yourself up so much. And sometimes as a response to, as a retaliation, I should say, to someone else pouring into themselves, you can sort of retaliate and say, well, I'm only going to focus on me. But sometimes when two people are focusing on themselves, they become almost obese. They become saturated. And unless you can cut off the fat and get rid of the excess, that level of saturated self-love can sometimes be somewhat toxic to yourself. And what I mean by that is, as I mentioned, is that when it becomes toxic, it's the result of you have been hurt, or you've had a reason where maybe you've been betrayed or let down in some way, or maybe you've just reached a point in your life where you say, I need to prioritize me more. You have to do it with a level of balance, because you get to a space whereby you are so focused on you and you put you first so much that you can actually become gluttonous in your self-indulgence, which can inspire other people to do the same, to be selfish too. And then it creates a cycle whereby it breeds a generation of men being lovers of themselves. And it reminds you of scripture in 2 Timothy 3 verse 2, which says that in the last days, men shall be lovers of themselves, shall be lovers of money, all these sort of things. And it reminds me that a sign where, God is absent, a sign where there is no sense of a higher self, you you're so focused on person one, and that is not the end goal. The end goal is a utopia where there's a balance between you pouring to others and you pouring into yourself and others pouring into you. And it reminds you of this story. I was with my friend one day and he told me this story, and he said that one day there was a teacher, and the teacher called all the students into a room and said, guys, take these balloons. I want you to write your names on these balloons. We're going to go up to the top floor and I want you to drop your balloons from the top floor. So the kids wrote their names onto these balloons. They all went up to them, maybe 20, 30 of them. They all went upstairs and they all dropped the balloons. And the teacher said, go and find your balloon. Now, all the kids ran down the stairs. They went to go and find their balloon. They were scoundering, looking for their balloon, and they were given a time limit. They said, you can only come back after, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And as they were looking, the time ran out, and then they got called back upstairs, and the teacher asked them and said, where's your balloon? And about maybe 20% of the kids were able to find their own balloon. The rest of them were like, I can't find it. I was struggling to find my balloon. And then the teacher then gave them an instruction. He said, you 80 that cannot find your balloon, I want you to go downstairs and whatever balloon you find, pick it up and bring it back. It doesn't have to be yours. It can be anybody's. If you see a balloon with a name on it, pick it up and bring it back. When the 80 came back, every single balloon was accounted for. Every single balloon was accounted for. And it goes to show here that the moral of the story is that when you are focused on yourself so much, you can miss that somebody else can be your solution. Sometimes you're focused on trying to discover a solution to your own problems. You can actually cause yourself harm and cause yourself distress and sometimes even frustration in the search for your own solutions. You forget that sometimes in the journey of taking care of somebody else, in your personal development journey of thinking about somebody else, you can actually begin to work on yourself in the process. You can find your own solution in your provision of a solution to somebody else. You can find your own solution in your provision of a solution to somebody else. While you're helping somebody else, while you're going about your life, you're focusing on yourself, but you're also being mindful of other people. In that same process, you are opening up yourself to being the solution to somebody else and also someone being the solution for you. There's a quote by Confucius that says, "He who wishes to secure the good of others has already secured his own." I'll say it again. He who wishes to secure the good of others has already secured his own. And as I said, sometimes in that process of securing somebody else's good, you secure your own good. John Holmes said, there is no exercise better for the heart than reaching down and lifting people up. Like, you're listening to this, you're thinking, this is not what I came to hear or expected to hear. But I just felt like this was something that I've been processing a lot. That I shouldn't be so focused on me that I forget about other people. I'd find more fulfillment to my own life and to solution to my own situations in the process of actually sometimes helping other people. I can be going through a very difficult time, a very painful place. But it's weird how when you're going through a low moment and sometimes you reach your hand up to help somebody else, you can actually begin to help your heart to heal. I remember always learning this one thing where it said, if you're struggling to forgive someone, pray for them. And it's weird is because you will sometimes, and even that prayer is for them, it's nothing to do for you. In the process of praying for them, the process of caring for them, it helps your heart to heal. And that's quite unique about coming outside of your own way, getting outside of yourself. You can realize that you are actually helping your own situation. You actually are healing your heart by lifting other people up. I cannot, minimize the amount of effort and pouring that people have given to my life. People have poured into my life, and as a result, I am the man I am today because of people who have poured into me, from leaders to mentors to friends to loved ones who've expressed their belief in me and have expended themselves to encourage me and lift me up and remind me of my own greatness. I am the person I am today because someone decided to come out of their own way to pour into me. And I think it's so powerful. I think there's such a power in caring for other people. And like I said, this isn't the sort of conversation you say commonly to a lot of people. It's not what you usually, hear about caring for other people. It's always very much focused on yourself. And I want to change that narrative. I'm not trying to mute the narrative of focusing on oneself, because I think it's important. But I think that there are people in this world outside of yourself. You're not the only human in this world. And when you're open to helping other people, you actually help yourself. So here are some reasons why you should care for other people, why you should focus on people in your journey of personal development. One, because you might find that you are the solution to somebody's problem, and by pouring into others, you open up yourself to the opportunity for someone else to pour into you. You don't have to do it alone. And I think this is a testament to a lot of like what you see like in the black community, I should say, as a black man. But sometimes it can get into this mindset where it's like, I need to do me, I need to do it by myself, I need to make my own money, I need to jug, I need to, put myself first, get my money up. And sometimes just by having a community of people that care about each other, that us like, oh, you're working on this thing, like, oh, I'm working on this. Like, oh, I know a guy who can help you with this. It's just because you decided to open yourself up to the possibility of other people and not trying to do it on your own. Just caring for somebody else, not knowing you've connected yourself to solve your own solution. Number two, your problems seem less significant. People have worse situations or worse problems than you. And it can bring humility, gratitude, and allow you to get out of your own way. Wow. I remember always hearing this, right? Where it was like, when you have a discussion with somebody else and you hear their problem, you think, hey, you know what? It could be worse, Like, when you hear someone else's struggle sometimes, just by trying to help somebody else, it's not like you're laughing at them or, you're not rating them, but sometimes by just opening yourself to hear somebody else's pain, you realize that, like, I can make it. Like, what I'm going through, sometimes it's like, you know what? I thank God that this is my problem. Like, I don't have that problem. So it can bring you to a sense of having a level of gratitude in your life, because you realize that, wow, there are people out there that is worse for them. Number three, it's important to care for others, I believe, because I said, as a man, as a Christian, as a citizen of this life, your duty isn't only to yourself, it's to other people as well. And I believe that is where life brings its most purpose. When you have discussions with mothers or fathers, people who maybe lead a church or lead an organization, the prime minister, the president, a king or a queen, their value has really come from their place of service. I say again, their value or self-value has come from a place of their service. It's funny because Jesus said the same thing. Jesus said that the greatest in the kingdom should be the one who serves, should be the lowest. And when you're in a place of considering other people, it's the highest ranking roles in our society are roles which serve other people. They always say that the best way to become rich is by working out somebody else's problem and providing a solution. So you realize that the greatest level you can get to is actually in the lowest level you can get to, which is actually caring for somebody else and serving other people. It's a very unique conversation to have because people will not usually have this discussion, but I'm here to create change. As I mentioned, you can find your life's purpose in your process of finding somebody else's solution. So in a nutshell, in your journey of self-love, in your journey of personal development, don't forget about other people. That actually other people can be a part and parcel of your process of personal development. I personally believe that in order for communities and for life to once again thrive in this generation, we as people must be willing to pull back into others. And that might mean what I'm doing right now with this podcast, or it could be, the conversation you have with someone when you're giving them a haircut, or when you meet someone across the street, helping them push their trolley along for an old lady or old man or whatever it is. Don't neglect the idea of selflessness in your pursuit of self-focus. So, as a roundup on this episode, I first of all want to say a massive, massive thank you for tuning in. And as I'm signing out here, I just want you to think about how you can contribute to your own purpose by pouring into somebody else today. I really do hope you've enjoyed this episode. And as I mentioned in the beginning, if you have liked it, and even if you haven't liked it, just comment and subscribe. Click that subscription button, click the notification bell, and share it with someone as well if you believe that this can help someone, even in the smallest percentage. Just share it to someone. I believe that you can probably help someone today. But I've been your host, Moses, aka King Shay, and it's been a King Speech podcast, the podcast that focuses on speech and discussions that create agents of change. Peace.